Okay, at 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the work session to order.
Just used to that.
First item on the agenda is LCPA Transportation. Greg Katz, VP Lexico and an officer on Leavenworth County Port Authority, is present to update the City Council on potential regional transportation projects. Greg?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Greg Katz. I'm here on behalf of the Port Authority. I'm not asking for money. So.
All right. We welcome you. Yeah.
I want to just give you a real brief update on some of the regional transportation projects. And most of these are in the KDOT's IKE program, which IKE is kind of the pipeline KDOT uses for their larger projects. That looks out from in the 8 to 10 year time frame. So every 2 years they have consult meetings, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here too. But as the pipeline empties, they tend to fill it back up. But right now there's 2 projects that are in the IKE program. The first one is the Centennial Bridge, replacing that bridge. Just an update, it's scheduled for bid letting of August of 2026, with construction starting early of 2027 and construction complete early of 2029. I think that started out at about a $120 million project. My guess is it's going to go north of that, just with what prices have done over the last several years. So, and that will be a new bridge to the north of the existing bridge, and then eventually I believe the old bridge will be torn down, similar to what they did in Atchison.
Is it going to be four lanes, 2 lanes each way, or just 2-laner?
I think it's 4 lanes with the trail, isn't it, Mike?
It is.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's 4 lanes with a walking path or sidewalk on it.
Sidewalk on one
Yeah.
side?
And then it'll tie into the roundabout over in Missouri, where the roundabout was put in there.
Mm-hmm.
You say they're building on the north side, on the water plant side?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be close to that basin that's underground.
Not much room there.
The other one that's near and dear to your heart and to mine also is the K5 corridor improvements. This project was added to the IKE program list 2 years ago during the consult meetings. And they did let the preliminary engineering to Kinley Horn on that. Jeff McCarron's been working on it. The last update I had from him was back in July. I don't think a lot has changed, but basically they were looking at alternative routes for K5, obviously over existing K5 ground. I would assume they're looking at over McIntyre, possibly other areas, I don't know. But they're trying to get it down to about 4 possibilities, 4, maybe 5 possibilities. Then they will start holding public meetings, should be this fall, early winter, and open to the public, get the public's reaction, then go from there. Construction, currently they're looking at a 2031 to 2032 timeframe. So it's still quite a ways out. I'm going to come back to that one in a little bit too here. The other project that is a little more recent, it's not in the IKE program, but Baser has been working with KTA on a new interchange in the 166th Street area. Don't know if it's 166, 172nd, somewhere in that area. They are doing a study to do the feasibility of it. The way KTA works, they cannot take any federal or state money. It has to be funded by KTA. But they will do a feasibility study, what it's going to cost, what they think it'll generate in toll. If they think it'll pay for itself, then they'll do it. If they say, well, it'll pay for 50% of it, then the sponsor, i.e. Baser, Leavenworth County, would have to come up with matching funds to put that interchange in. But this would be the beginning, hopefully, of a north-south bypass that would go west of Baser, west of Lansing, west of Leavenworth, and eventually tie into probably 73 highway. That would be, I'm looking at it at about a 50,000 foot view. But getting that interchange in is very important since we only have one interchange in Leavenworth County in an interstate, which is County Road 1 out of Tonganoxie. So that would be very helpful. We can get that in. Going back to the, well, I want to touch a little bit. They just had a meeting on the K7 corridor, and they've had K7 corridor meetings for probably the last 10 years. There's been memorandums of understanding that have been signed, broken, ignored, re-signed. It's kind of been hit and miss a little bit. I think Mike attended it. Some of the people from the county attended it, and it was a very discouraging meeting. They basically wanted to talk about K7 down in the Spring Hill area due to their growth down there. They also wanted to talk about the K10 corridor. They're talking about spending $100 million or more on K7 around Spring Hill and up to $1 billion on K10 corridor. No mention of K7 on the north end. And I think that was brought up and they kind of looked dumbfounded. Like, why would you guys want any improvements on K7? There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know if Mike has any other comments on that or if that.
Tim and I both attended the meeting. They were very, very focused, as you indicated.
It was interesting hearing Bill from the county say, you know, you guys have done millions and millions of dollars worth of studies, but $0 worth of physical improvements. You know, I was glad to hear Bill Knoll from the county bring that up. But you're right, they were entirely focused on the southern part of K7 and not the northern part of K7.
So I guess that kind of brings up a little bit, you know, what do we got to do to get KDOT's attention and to get some projects going on K7 and get something going in Leavenworth County? Obviously, KDOT tends to blow us off. So the only way I know to do it is to start working more of the legislature, the politics end of it. And Senator Klemp is very on board for it. The representatives, I haven't talked with them, I don't know, but we need to start working them, especially and I hate to get into the Democrat Republicans, but the Democratic ones, because the Democratic ones can talk to the governor, she's going to listen to them more. Secretary Reed works for the governor, so we got to kind of work that end of it. Not to say that the Republicans aren't important, but we can't ignore the Democrats might be a little easier path to go through. That kind of leads to
I have a question,
yeah.
and I may be totally off base. Is there a reason that they're not paying attention to us because of our lack of growth? Could that be an excuse or a reason that they're,
I don't know if they realize the growth.
okay, just wonder.
And it was kind of the Senate President Ty Masterson. He was up several months ago and met with some of the business people, and we brought up K5. And, you know, we said, hey, you know, this is a bad road, it's dangerous, it's curvy, there's a lot of accidents, and, you know, we really need to get this improved and get it moved up. And he's kind of like, okay, well, what are you talking about? And, you know, we pulled it up on Google Earth, and depending on, you know, where you improve, what you improve, it's like 7 to 10 miles of roadway. And he looks and he says, 7 to 10 miles, is that all you're talking about? We ought to be able to do that. So they don't know. And I mean, I think we just need to keep hounding them to do it. And I've talked with Senator Klemp several times. Last time I talked with him, he said, you know, I'm really disappointed in the schedule for K5. This 2031, 2032, that's a long ways down the road. And we need to get that project bumped up. Well, in reality, even if KDOT wanted to bump it up, we might get it down to 2029. But by the time they do design, they do environmental studies, they buy right-of-way, you know, they put it out for construction, you're 2026 now, so that doing that in 3 years, you're probably 2029 would be the best case we could hope for.
And I really, really appreciate everything Senator Clinton's doing. My question would be, what are the other politicians in the area, what are they doing? Okay.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything. And I've got a better relationship with him than I do with the others, so I hear
Sure.
more from him. So I'm not going to say they're not doing anything, but somehow we need to get more. The squeaky wheel gets the grease to some degree. And that's a lot of truth with the consult meetings too.
I hear a lot of great things that Senator Clinton is doing for
Yeah.
us, and it's crickets on the other end.
Yeah. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democratic,
Right.
it doesn't matter to me.
No, I don't care either.
I'm a resident of Leavenworth County, and I want to see Leavenworth County grow
Let's do
and
what's
prosper.
right for Leavenworth County.
Right.
Okay.
So, but I think we need to start working some of the other representatives, and I know occasionally you guys meet with them too, and it probably needs to be on the agenda every time we meet with them. Hey, where are we at with this, or what can we do, or, do something. Senator Klemp did ask that, he says, is there any way that you could, he asked if the Port Authority and LCDC would write a letter to him, to the representatives in this area, to Secretary Reed, to the governor, asking to move K-5 up. So I have a copy of that letter, and I think Tim can send it out to you guys, and you can review it. If this is something that, the city would authorize the mayor to sign and send on behalf of Lansing, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. It may not help, but, it's a postage stamp or an email.
Sure.
So I think it's worth sending out. Basically, it's a letter saying, hey, we would like to express our gratitude for getting K-5 on the Ike program, but, we'd like to see if there's a way we can get it moved up due to the safety. And especially the city of Lansing, with the growth you guys are going to see on McIntyre. I know the RHID, some of those have gotten turned down by the county, but you're going to see the development on McIntyre, and you guys know it over the next 5 years. It's going
Are
to
you gonna
happen.
set the speed limit appropriately this time?
Well, possibly. And it was supposed to be set higher.
Right.
And there was some concern over the cuts because of the hills.
And I hope you're right.
So,
I think the north side of K7, what you talked about earlier, is more dangerous than Highway 5 these days.
yeah,
Because there are people speeding and running red lights. I mean, just last month, they installed flashing lights south of Bonner Springs at 47th Street because they have constant collisions at the intersection, and so 2 people were killed just like 6 months ago. So they installed flashing lights to warn people that the light's going to change.
yeah,
So K7 is a dangerous road.
it is.
So.
It is. But I think, we've got to push. And other projects, the consult meetings, which 2 years ago you guys came, and hell, you loaded a minivan up with people and showed up. And I don't know which of you remember that, but it's a very unique process of how KDOT does it. Because you kind of go in a room and they talk to you for a little bit, and then you break up into groups, 4 or 5 different groups, and then you almost start putting Post-its up on the board of what projects you want and how you rate them, and then they summarize all that and say, okay, well, K5 was ranked at number 1, K7 Fairmont was number 2, and so forth.
Well, I think what helped there was Wyandotte County was on board with it.
Right.
So you're talking about 2 counties agreeing on the same project, which I think worked in our favor.
Yeah.
You only
But-
had a number of people from KCKCC there that spoke up 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
in favor.
But I don't know if you were in the group with the ladies, the moms from US 75 Highway, and some of the accidents they'd had on there with the school buses and stuff, and they laid it out, and
Yeah.
the tears and everything, and that got selected. So it works. I mean, showing up in person, showing your smiling faces works. But kind of in that light, what we tried to concentrate on 2 years ago when we went was to get all of the cities and the counties kind of on the same page, supporting the same projects, to where we don't have Leavenworth saying, well, we want this, Lansing wants this, Basel wants that, and Tonganoxie, because basically KDOT has told me, the secretary before Reed, that I'm not going to come up here and referee you guys. You need to get on the same page. When you get on the same page, we'll do some projects up here. But I don't want to get in the middle of your fight. So I think the county has met, they have talked. The projects that were identified in the regional transportation program, that study, which I don't know if you guys are all familiar with that, it was a priorities for progress, and it took all the studies that have been done and then tried to determine, okay, what's most important, and it also looked at what kind of grants you're applying for. But it was completed in August of '23. For the IKE program, the projects that were selected as the highest rating was K5 improvement. Second was K7 combined interchanges, which would be Fairmont and Leavenworth Road. Number 3 was Leavenworth City West Bypass. 4 was West K7 connection and the West Tonganoxie Bypass, so something going south towards DeSoto. And then 5th was Eastern Gateway. I don't see Eastern Gateway happening. We have a couple commissioners that feel Eastern Gateway is the solution to everything. Unfortunately, that project is going to be probably $350 million, $300 to $350 million. You're going to have to get Missouri and Kansas on board together. Right now, they're not real happy with each other because of a couple sports teams. So I don't see that happening. Not to say it's a bad thing, but I think it's a problem too when you have a Missouri River Bridge, put a new one in that's within a mile or two of an existing one, i.e. 435. It's a little harder to justify. They originally proposed this as a toll road, and people, my experience from what I've seen down at Lake of the Ozarks and Community Bridge and some of those, people will drive an extra 45 minutes to save $2.50. They will not pay that toll. And it's just the way people are. They don't want to be nickel and dime to death. So I just don't see people paying that toll. And to be honest with you, it doesn't really open up a lot of area for Leavenworth County because you're going across the river bottoms there by KSB, and that's all in a floodplain. So you can't build in the floodplain. So really, the only thing it would open up would be from the bluff to wherever it ties in. Kind of the same, you got a bridge over Missouri River, you got a bridge over the Union Pacific Railroad on this side, you got a bridge over Burlington on the Missouri side, you got a bridge over 45 Highway. So you got a lot of bridges to put in, and bridges aren't cheap. But I guess kind of what I would ask you guys to consider on attending the consult meetings is to support the K7 in Fairmont, K7 Leavenworth Road, possibly the Western Bypass that would get us down to I-70 quicker, take some of the traffic off of K7. I talked with Jeff a little bit, and I expressed the concern of K7 and McIntyre Road. And although that did not come up at the time, I think K7 and McIntyre Road is going to become a very dangerous intersection. And I know it did come up in some of the RHID, some of the people mentioned it, and I think they made a good point that I think as that area develops, that intersection is going to get bad. So he said, I don't think it hurts to bring that up. And, maybe they do a project early to address that interchange before they do the rest of K5 or something too. So I think that's kind of the four that I guess I would suggest. Like I said, the county was K7 and Fairmont, K7 and Leavenworth Road. Haven't heard what City of Leavenworth is doing, but I would guess that they will follow with the K7 and Fairmont, K7, Leavenworth Road, and probably a western bypass, because that's pretty important to them too. Baser, I've not talked to Leslie, so I'm not sure what Baser's going to do. Tonganoxie, I'm sure they're interested in a north-south going south with a new bridge over the Kansas River that would get to DeSoto. But again, I think they will probably tend to support the others too, the K7 and Fairmont, K7 and Leavenworth Road. In the Ike program right now, we've only got two projects, the Centennial Bridge and K5. So we've got to figure a way to get more projects in Leavenworth County. And if you guys got some ideas too, or Mike or Tim or anybody, we need to come together to do it. The other thing we probably need to, that I mentioned at Port Authority too, is this Priorities for Progress study that was done in 2023. It was actually done in 2022. The final draft was 2023. We probably need to consider getting that study updated, because by the time you update it, it's probably going to be 2026, 2027. It's to a point now that we could update it, pick up the things like McIntyre intersection, and I don't think it would be too expensive to have Jeff McCarron update that, or Kimley Horn update it, since they have all the information. So it might be something to consider in the future, and hopefully the Port Authority would take the lead on getting that started too, and KDOT would support it, because KDOT supported that study. KDOT loves studies too, so. But I think that's all I got, unless Tim or Mike can think of anything else we need to talk about. And I'll try to answer questions if anybody has any questions.
Any other questions for Greg? No? Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Well, item number 2 is conceptual plan for housing development. And I think Josh will be briefing us on that.
I will. There's actually a little bit of synergy between what Mr. Cos just talked about and what we're going to talk about. Mainly, kind of sounds like Leavenworth County and Lansing need to make our own luck. And that's kind of where we're at with housing right now. Obviously, we have still something in the pipeline. Ken, can you click on PowerPoint again? Or there we go. Okay. So making our own luck. What we're going to talk about tonight is the potential to utilize city-owned property as an incubator of sorts for housing development. We're going to talk about where we are currently. I'll present a conceptual plan, and then we'll talk a little bit about action steps after both tonight and potentially in the future, depending on what you guys say. And just to be clear, we're not making any binding decisions tonight. This is a work session. We are just going to talk big concepts and make sure that I'm not going down a path that you guys are like, hey, that's a really dumb idea. We don't want you to do this anymore. So here we are. Growth opportunities. Housing is still an issue for the city of Lansing in that we have 35 homes as of this morning on, I said MLS, it's actually Zillow, both renting and owning. 35 properties in the entire city. That works out to something to the effect of less than 1% of vacancy. And as a reminder, in a healthy owner-occupied market, you want somewhere between 5 and 7%. And for rent, you're a little bit lower, but still around that 5%. We're under, something's a little bit out of whack. strengths, United City Council, strong fundamentals with the city, both from our perspective and then also the residents. And then you guys have demonstrated a willingness to negotiate with developers as they arise and as they come into the city. And so here's what we'll talk about. You were probably a year and a half ago now, maybe it might be 2 years. My sense of time is completely out of whack. But at the strategic session, strategic planning session, you guys said economic development and housing. Those were our priorities. And so I've been kicking around this idea for a while. Talked a little bit within staff about where a location for a housing development on city property might fit. We talked about property immediately to the north, but then with the opening of the aquatic center, we said, hey, maybe that plus the schools right there, that might be an attractive place for housing. And as an aside, we looked at this location already in terms of geotech. So we had some studies already. I was able to go look at those and say, no, this property could facilitate some residential development, okay? So Bittersweet and Mary, we've got the pool here on the west side. As you all know, there's a creek up in this area of the site, but there's about 4.5 acres here that would be available. 5.4 acres that could be available, okay? So I went and worked with a nationally recognized leader in housing developments in terms of looking to the past and building neighborhoods that feel like a cohesive whole while containing a variety of different housing styles within it. Kronberg and Associates, Kronberg Urbanists and Architects, so they're a planning and architecture firm, and they came up with this plan after a couple of conversations. Tim, the mayor, and I also looked at this plan a little bit, had some comments, sent them back, and came up with this revised plan. So what we're looking at here is 10 different units types. These are all single family homes. There's a couple of duplexes thrown in there, but they're all single family, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom apartments. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom homes. So 66 total units. And if you kind of run the math, you could get anywhere from between an estimated 90 to 140 residents of Lansing could live in this location. We started out with this version on the left that actually had some studios in there. There was more preponderance of there were more studio and 1 bedrooms than 2 and 3 bedrooms. We shifted that a little bit, so we went from 79 units to 66 units in version 2 here, going from 14.6 units an acre to 12.2 units an acre. Still pretty good. This is the type of homes that this architecture firm put on the land. We don't have these building plans per se, but that would be something that we could work with a potential builder to purchase these plans and be able to have the builders build this exact plan. That's the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, there's 1 and 2 bedroom units. This is the 3 bedroom units, homes. And then, that was a couple of the options and types of units there. The main question I think you should be asking right now is, why do we want to do something like this, right? And really, it comes down to this. The 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units seem a little bit out of the ordinary for Lansing right now. But something that we've talked about before, if you look at the trend of the household size in the United States, in Kansas, and in our city, It has dropped from over 3 in the 1970s to about 2.5 right now. Okay. Housing sizes have gone from small, 12, 13, 1400 in the 1970s to on average across the country over 2,500 square feet. They actually dropped this year in average, but it's still over 2,500 square feet. We like our stuff. We have a lot of stuff. I understand the need for, bigger houses, but at the same time, when you are putting fewer people into those homes, there's an issue. Couple that with the housing cost crisis that we have. More than 50 or 40% of people are cost burdened across the country. That bears out here in our city as well. Something needs to give, and so we could potentially do something about this, right? We could potentially take a run at putting something into the market that isn't necessarily seen, at least not in this city, right? And here's why. Those 1-bedroom units, so let me work through this. We've got the number of units here. We've got the percentage of the overall unit type here. In the second column, the third column is the square footage. And then we get into cost. And this is why I think this could be interesting and important for the city. We are looking at 4 different price points per square foot. Okay, so we've got 180 per square foot, 190, 200, 210. Okay, I know that a couple of the developers that we have talked to recently, they use kind of 200 as the number. So I went a little bit higher, a little bit lower, a little bit higher. This gives us a general ballpark, right? So we're looking at, for 2-bedroom units here, and you'll see that we have 71% are 2-bedroom units. We have a range of 161,000, and I'm going to use round numbers. You have them here in front of you, to 317,000, 318,000, which works out to a monthly payment with mortgages, with mortgage payment plus taxes, not insurance, but works out to something to the effect of $1,200 to $2,400 a month. That's assuming a 6.5% interest rate on your mortgage. Okay. These price points are, and then if you look at the 1-bedrooms, obviously, the smaller home you have, the less you're spending on it. Works out to something that is actually still affordable in today's environment, right? And then we've also got a couple of 3-bedrooms, and you can see that goes to 259 to 400,000 based off of those cost estimates. According to the National Association of Home Builders annual survey, about 65% of your cost of your development is going to be in your construction costs, and they include that. They separate that from the cost per square foot. They don't include in that, right? And let me be very clear. This is a really, really, really rough estimate. Very rough estimate, but we're good. It's what we got. Okay. There's a lot of variables to consider. The National Home Builders Association survey is single family only. If you're putting up duplexes, you have shared walls, which will reduce costs. This is a smaller area, 5.4 acres, smaller area than is other types of development. We're trying to put more houses on a smaller lot size. So we're looking at something like potentially $20 million investment in the city if something like this comes to fruition. Okay. What I will say is during the research, I got on Zillow and I looked at what was going on down in Pacer. And Hakes Brothers is putting up units for sale that are, in fact, only $200 per square foot to the buyer. Okay? So this estimate is based off of the $200 square foot being only for the construction of the home, not the lot, not the roadway, not anything like that, right? But Hakes Brothers is offering homes at $200 a square foot to the buyer, meaning that all their profit, all their lot costs, all of the roadway costs are built into that, right? So if we take that number, it makes this project look potentially a lot better from a monetary side of things as well, okay? Again, rough estimates, I don't know, right? But in light of all of that, the ask for tonight is Josh, Tim, continued with this, and what continuing looks like is an RFP, okay? In order to make our own luck, let's go take this to the developers, okay? Let's put out a request for proposals and say, the city of Lansing is interested in doing something unique in the Kansas City metro. This isn't going to be a LIHTC project. This is market rate, but we want to see a housing product that is not often seen in the market today. Okay, we want to bring something new to. I hesitate to say something new because we can go in the northern part of our city and in the northern part of Leavenworth, and we can find houses that look remarkably similar to this. It's not a new product, right? But we're interested in doing this. We're interested in helping to subsidize this through getting this entitled for you. We're interested in getting this ready to go. We just need you guys to stand up the land or stand up the houses and sell them or rent them or something. That can be determined at another point. What we're looking for is go or no go, right? Understanding that if we put out an RFP, we can walk away from this project and say, this isn't something that we really want to do, right? And so that's the ask tonight. Using this as a conceptual plan because everybody's got a great plan until they get punched in the face, right? It's a conceptual plan. It's probably going to change. I don't know what the actual soil conditions are, neither does the developer at this point, the nameless developer that we've not even talked to yet, right? We put out an RFP, we publicize that, we see what we get. We see if we get a lot of interest or if we get no interest. And if we get no interest, well then okay, then there's the answer, right? But what we could do is we could put it out for an RFP. If we feel strongly enough about it, we could try to phase this in. In the packet that you guys have in front of you, page number 2 is a phasing plan based off of the first, the initial layout. We could phase this in and we could but we could work out a deal with a small home builder to stand up 10 units, 10 homes. See what happens. Maybe they go like hotcakes. Maybe it's a little bit harder than I expect. I don't think that it will be hard to sell this product, right? There is enough problems with financing right now. It's hard to get into houses of any type, let alone something that is actually, you're looking at low thousands for a mortgage cost, you know? I think it'll be easy to sell. We just need to continue down the visionary trail that you guys have already started with parking minimums, smaller lot sizes, that type of thing, and move generally this direction. I've talked a lot at you. Initial thoughts.
If we say go forward with what would the next two steps be when you come back to the council? And you get the result that you're looking for.
We would be determining, we would be accepting a bid, a proposal. We would be, well, I guess before that, we would enter into interviews, negotiation, and then bringing something before you, say, we'd like to work with this developer. We think this developer has the expertise, the knowledge, and the capability to be able to do something like this.
I was just going to say it's important to note that something like this doesn't get off the ground unless we find a developer and a builder who shares this vision. So, like Josh had said, there's not a lot of risk in putting out an RFP and seeing if anyone thinks this is a viable product, thinks this is a good idea. To kind of piggyback on some of the things Josh had said, I was reading an article that was talking about young people building equity in homes and what a challenge that is. And if you have a 30-year mortgage, it takes a long time to build equity in a home. And I think part of the thought process here is if you are a 25-year-old person who is, pick any of those jobs that we talked about during the last housing issues, and you're able to buy a home for $150,000, $175,000, $200,000, that could be a good product. Again, though, like Josh had said, we need to find someone to share that vision. So putting out an RFP would kind of put feelers out, I guess. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And again, we could try to, sell the entire property, go for 66 units all at one go. Or, again, we could phase it in. We could say, hey, here's 22 units, or here's 30, or here's 10, and let's see what happens. And maybe I'm completely wrong and there's not a market for this and it doesn't work, right? Or maybe it's great and it goes really quickly. And we go, oh, hey, we need to put out another proposal so we can do this again, right? Another RFP so we can do this again. But does that answer your question? That's the next steps.
Yeah, if it goes good and get developers interested, when you come back, will they have a concept?
Yeah.
For design?
Yeah.
Okay. I know this is the concept, but you've got that thing butted up against that parking lot for the aquatic center. People might think that's their driveway for their parking lot.
There are ways of being able to make sure that we get stuff like that, taken care of and separated. But yeah, that's an excellent point.
It is very tight, and like Josh had said, it's also very conceptual. So
it's based off of one of the next steps we should consider. Whether or not we want to do this is figure out if we want to actually divide off, because right now the pool just sits on one big piece of property, right? But if we wanted to separate that out, we would need to go get that surveyed, and at that point we'd be able to put 10 feet in between the parking lot and the property line. And then maybe that, because the Kronberg and urbanists and architects did this based off of, hey, here's an aerial, generally speaking, this is where it's at, draw this up, right? Again, conceptual, get something on paper.
Can you draft an RFP in-house?
Yes.
You can drop this on any area that's like 5 acres. Personally, I'm worried about
Kind of.
West Mary. We have the new apartment complex that went in. We've got the aquatic center that's brand new. We've got a shopping center going in on the corner. We've got the school in the middle. There's a lot of traffic on West Mary. They put another 66 homes in there. That's another 120 maybe cars. Also on the on West Mary going in and out of there.
Yep.
I don't know. I like the concept. I'm not sure that's the right location, but
During the summer, you wouldn't have that traffic because the school wouldn't be in session.
And the school is half hour in the morning, half hour at night. It's
Yeah.
busy. Other than that, school really doesn't pay.
I live right around the school.
we could look at doing some type of traffic study too, if that.
Yeah, that would be, a traffic study would be a part of the process.
I was gonna say, don't they make you do that?
Well, we make developers do that, so we would be
making ourselves do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and it would make sense, right? We're going to hear a lot of the same comments that we've heard for Monroe Manor and the other housing developments. But to me, it seems, I could be wrong. This seems more along the lines of the first phase of Fairlane Townhomes to me. Just taking an underutilized portion of land. Part of the reason we chose this spot is that there's water, there's sewer right there, there's road access right there. It's not, that's helping to reduce the costs. And by the city taking the lead on this, I guess something I didn't say is that developing houses is a very risky business, right? And so what we're trying to do is help reduce the risk, right? Reduce as much risk as not as much as we possibly can, but reduce the risk to an acceptable level that somebody's willing to come in and say, sure, let's go build this, right? So that's where we're at. I have RHID up here on these action steps. That's a decision for you guys to make. If you remember, there's 3 stages to the RHID. There's just the initial, hey, we're sending this to the state. The state will review it and say, conceptually, sure, that'd be fine, right? And then we get into the second, the resolution and then the ordinance to actually stand up the RHID. So that would just be a preliminary thing. We did that for 6 different parcels. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. This was not on that list. So if we wanted to do that, that opens the door for flexibility for us in the future. Obviously, if something happens with Monroe Manor and RHID, that one gets shut down, RHID is basically off the table for us moving forward, right? But put it up there just because could gives us options in the future. RFP, we talked about that. Entitle the land, that means get the zoning in place and potentially get the site plan actually drawn up. Here's what the site plan is going to look like, but at least get it entitled or get it zoned appropriately for the type of product that would go on there. And then, in 12, 18 months, maybe build something. So.
I'm assuming since these houses are so inexpensive, not cheap, inexpensive. They're probably on slabs, no basement.
Correct. Yep. No garages.
And they're building a house right now in Ida that's on a slab.
Right.
So that's the new deal, is building just on a slab, no basements.
Yeah.
He's got a 3-car garage.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I'm just saying.
That one on Ida is a 3-car garage?
Yeah, it's got a double in the middle and then one on the left.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Most of the houses is a garage.
There's more garage than house there.
When would the city get their money? When the houses are sold or when the developer buys the lot?
That would be something that I think would be part of the negotiation. We could say, you guys could say, we want the money up front. Cool. We could say something different. But in all of the city has been active in incentivizing development in the community already. And we've gotten money up front to make that happen. The retail center, KCKCC, so on and so forth. So.
I guess my thought process is, if we were to do this and develop it and sell it, and those houses sell like hotcakes, some other developers might look at Lansing and go, "Ooh, that's a hot market. Maybe we should start working that area."
Again, incubator, trying to build something, right? We want to see the growth of the city. This is a development pattern that would help the city in the long run. It means, more people paying into sewer costs and roadway costs and all of that stuff. Those things are only going to get more expensive. And looking to the future, we need to see, fiscally sound development patterns in how houses and retail and industrial are all built to make sure that the city's okay in 10, 15 years.
Well, conventional methods have been a little hard, so maybe thinking out of the box like this is the way to go.
What I like the most about it is that we're going to have a
affordable homes for the people in the city that need it the most.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the idea. That's the idea. Then,
I say we move forward with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Anybody else?
I like the idea.
okay.
Are there any, not even local, but just contractors or anybody that you know of, maybe in the Kansas City market that's involved in these P3 style projects, the public-private partnerships?
They are, you will see them across, I'm thinking of Lisa Summit took an active, what do they call it? They took a very active role in Green Street, I think. It's not necessarily housing centric, but I believe that there's a housing component of that. But that's more of a downtown or an addition to their downtown. It looks very nice. Haven't made it over there. I need to actually go talk to the somebody in the city staff anyway. But so yeah, yes, the public-private partnerships. It would be a little bit different for Lansing. It's not necessarily something that we do all the time, but willing to give it a shot and see what happens. That's all I have on that. I've got one other thing that I sent you guys an email and just wanted to follow up that. Yeah.
How much land is this?
5.4.
5.4.
So about 5. What do we own on the west side of the Aquatic Center? How much is that land?
That was another one I think we wanted to
Yeah.
broach at some point to you guys too. That one is 20 or 30 acres, but of that, 7 or 8 are developable.
Yeah,
you think?
it's going to be very hard to develop that land. In the comp plan, we're going to be redoing anyway, but in the current comp plan, it kind of marks that property as green space because of the topography challenges mainly.
Churchill.
Yeah, well, true, but topography still hasn't changed. But it is something to consider. That'll be a part of the review process for myself as the planning director. But there would be we've considered that as well, and it's just right now there's a significant hole that we would need to be filled, and that's doable. All of that stuff is doable. So
Just in terms of things that we can do that can jumpstart housing, because like Josh had said, we have to make our own luck. Developers aren't doing us any favors. Other government agencies are not doing us any favors. So we've had a lot of those discussions in terms of, what are assets that we have that we can utilize, whether that's vacant land east of the pool, west of the pool, or I think I'd brainstormed with you guys a couple of times. Are we still, I think when I came here, the council's vision was always south of City Hall will be the next City Hall someday. And I'm not sure anyone's brought that up in years. We haven't really grown to necessitate another City Hall. So I don't know if we look at the 3.5 acres south of City Hall as something we talk to people about. I don't know, but again, that's an asset the city has that could potentially jumpstart housing, perhaps. So.
I did send, in light of this conversation, it turns out that there's a talk being put on by the Kansas City, Missouri Public Library in their series, Making a Great City, Building a Great City, something to that effect. A nationally recognized author thought leader, quote unquote. That makes me cringe. But Chuck Marone is going to be talking on, I believe, his new book, Escaping the Housing Trap. But the title of the talk is Housing as Economic Development. I'm a big fan of Chuck and the work that he has done over the past decade and a half. Would highly recommend going to that talk to hear a vision of city development that would support everybody from everybody in the community from top to bottom. And it's next
What's the name
Tuesday.
again?
Chuck Marone, Marohn. If you want to read the book, I've got a copy right here. Yeah, you can snag it. He's all over podcasts, YouTube. You can find him pretty easily. He leads the group Strong Towns. That's his website. That's where he got started, and that's where he still is. So that's Tuesday, 6 to 7, I believe, at the Kansas City Public Library downtown location, I believe. It's in the email I sent you, or the link that I sent you to you guys in your emails. So that's all I've got.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Item number 3 is Leavenworth County Humane Society thank you note. I think most of you saw that in your packet. Just wanted to give them a shout out. Appreciate them, and I wanted to make sure that we knew they appreciate us as well. So, okay. Now I'll go run on horn real quick. Hey, you got anything? Jesse? Okay.
Good. Just to be clear, we're asking for proposals, all right? We're not committed to anything. That doesn't mean there's another RHID coming down the road.
Correct.
This is step 1, and we see where we go from there. We're not committing to anything.
Correct.
So please don't get on Facebook and say the city's asking for another RHID, because that's not the case. We're a long way from there.
And thank you for keep plugging away at trying to make the city grow.
Well,
All right.
Here.
I appreciate you guys thinking outside the box. Thank you.
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you.